The state of Maine offers a variety of outdoor activities, many of which involve field cooking. From Freeport, the resident expert on outdoor cookery is Alex Delicata of the L.L. Bean Company. A self-proclaimed forager and chief chef, he prepares a fancy campsite meal using wood as fuel and pan cooking directly on the grill. It's pheasant breast and pancakes. The pancakes will be cooked in rendered bacon fat. The bacon is moved to a smaller pan to the side of the fire.
Gonna mix a local pancake from Maine called Cloyes. It's a French Acadian type of pancake. It's mixed just with water. It contains buckwheat flour, wheat flour. It has no milk in it, so it's a very healthy type of food to eat. And the mix is just with water, so for a camping type of food, it's very simple and very easy. Now you can use it as a breakfast cake or as an accompaniment to a main meal. Cloyes usually are not turned, but when you make them as a pancake, they're a little bit thicker, and they probably should be turned, and that's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to add to these right now is a little bit of wild rice left over from last night's supper, so that we'll have a little more nourishing breakfast, and I'll do a few more with some blueberries in them. The key to making a fire when you're cooking pancakes and things of that nature, since you're outdoors, you don't have a control knob to turn and up the heat or turn it down. So what you do is you add very small sticks. You should have your firewood cut real fine. What was known in the old days when people cooked on a wood stove, this is called biscuit wood because it burned hot, it burned fast, and you can control your fire just by adding a few sticks at a time. And the danger being that it would get very, very hot. So you don't want these to stick. I'm going to add a little bit of margarine. This is not your average backpacking skillet that we're using. This is definitely taken with you when you have a vehicle in which to carry it. These should not take very long to cook because the fire is hot, the skillet is hot.
The pheasant is seasoned.
We're going to add a little bit of basil, some powdered garlic.
The last seasoning is dried parsley.
There are any number of spices that you can add, but these are 3 easy ones to take with you. And when you're traveling like this, dried spices work a lot better than fresh ones because the weight being very critical.
After about a minute, the pancakes are turned.
Okay, let's check the bacon. Bacon is doing fine. We'll drain that later on some paper towels. These are dried blueberries, unless you happen to be in the right season that you can get them fresh. The dry ones are very handy. They're easy to package, they're lightweight. They cook up nicely. You can use them in pancakes, biscuits, muffins, whatever you have, whatever you're preparing for the day. And those, I would say, are done. We'll put them over there to stay warm. This one's going to need a little more help. We'll put it over here. How's my fire doing? Looks like it's doing pretty good. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to disturb it. Get it upset. If I get it upset, it may not like me.
Water is added to the blueberry pancakes as before.
If you're a prudent cook on the trail, you make sure that you bring some dry firewood with you. You don't have to have a whole lot of it, but you take some with you because you may be stuck in a situation where you do have to get a fire going quickly. You do have to feed a hungry crew, and it's pretty hard to go looking for big dead standing trees that you're going to split open and peel the heart out of. So if you bring a bag full of real dry stuff with you and you stash it away. The morning or the afternoon or evening comes along that you need it, well, you've got it right there. There's no real big problem to getting it handy. Okay, our second batch of ploys, I'm going to add a little more margarine to that. Why the tub margarine is because that it's easier to handle than sticks. Margarine really doesn't need all that much refrigeration. This time of year, you really don't have to refrigerate it at all. And it's very, very handy. It creates fewer problems for you than does the stick margarine or stick butter. Now let's see what we can do with the blueberry ploys. It's nice to have a skillet this big so you don't really have to struggle to produce a breakfast for 4, 5, 6, or 8. You can actually fry a dozen eggs in this thing at a time. A little extra vegetation. Nature always helps to provide. One thing I always carry in my Wanigan is a sheet pan, because it comes in handy when you're doing things like this. A Wanigan is basically a provision box. There's all kinds of names for them, but that's an old camper's name. I'm going to set this over. Let me prop up a couple of sticks here so we can keep this warm. Remember, when you're cooking outdoors, you have no shelter over you. You've got to cook, you've got to be prepared, and you really can't let nature beat you at it. It's a little bit of a struggle. It takes a knack to get it done, but you can do it. Now, to the bacon fat that's in that skillet, I'm going to add just a little bit of margarine so that we have a good cooking medium. And since basil is one of my favorite spices, I'm going to add just a little bit of it to the hot oil. Now, you can make these breakfasts as intricate as you want or as simple as you want. It depends on your expertise. The thing that's scary about ploys when you cook them for the first time, they don't really brown nicely like pancakes do, because it's buckwheat flour and it tends to brown a little more unevenly. So now I've got to add a few sticks to my fire here. We're going to turn the heat up a little bit, and that we don't lose the volume of heat that we need. Now I'm going to move that in a little closer. The ploys are done, the cakes are done. Now these, with the blueberries, when we get ready to serve them, we'll put them on a separate dish. We'll use syrup with those. Now, as with all game bird breasts, they have very little fat. They tend to dry very quickly. So the key is to cook them quickly. And all you have to do is make sure that the transparency or the translucency is gone. And like fish, breast meat of any bird is done when the transparency is gone.
After about a minute and a half, the breasts are turned.
Now this is a tough time of year because the weather can turn like this when you're starting to get your meal done. So if you got the chance to rig a top up over your cook fire, that'll protect the chef and the fire.
The blueberry pancakes are ready to serve.
What we're going to do with those is we're going to pour some good, sweet Maine maple syrup over the top. And don't worry about getting a little extra sugar in your diet when you're out on the trip like this. You're going to burn it off as fast as you can take it in.
The finished breasts are presented with bacon and wild rice pancakes.
Now, I'm not a fancier of super crisp bacon. I kind of like the bacon soft. I suppose for dietary purposes you should cook it as crisp as you can, but something gets lost there in the translation. And there go the fingers, because they were invented before knives and forks anyway. And that can be your bread, the bread portion of your meal. Now there's a couple of breakfast ideas that Should keep you cranking for a couple hours, splitting wood or paddling the canoe.